I thought I was going to play baseball as a profession, for a long time. And every time I walk into MLB Network, and I don't know if you guys have seen MLB Network, they have this huge, massive field studio. I never imagined I would be in here, doing what I'm doing. So
you imagined it as a, like the
yeah,
highest
I would have
paid,
imagined it as like a player.
Yeah.
Like
Cinematherapy Podcast with Sam and Mitch.
Welcome to the Cinematherapy Podcast by Inland Film Co. I'm Mitch Williams. This is episode 10. In this week's installment, we sit down with special guest, cinematographer Zach Trinca. This is part one of our long-winded conversation with Zach, where we talk Ronin versus Movi and our mutual love for Easy Rig, freelancing commercial branded content in New York City, his work with MLB Network, why his camera rig is so big, and more. Enjoy. Today we have a friend that we've made on the Instagram verse, the Instaverse, Zach Trinca. Zach, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, guys. I've been waiting for this moment.
Awesome.
Watching you guys make this podcast. I was like, oh, we gotta get on there. We gotta talk. So I'm excited.
Awesome. So Zach, really quick, where are you from? Where do you live?
Well, I'm originally from Syracuse, New York, which is way upstate. And I moved down to Connecticut about 5 years ago after I graduated college. So I live just over the border in Connecticut in a place called Stamford. So I'm very close to New York City.
Sam Weiss, you and Zach first got started talking to each other on Instagram because of all the crap you were carrying around.
Oh, that's true. Was it about carts?
I think it was about carts.
I think it was you were packing your car. I think that was the original picture that I saw, was like you had packed your car and it was just this like pristine, like
Yes.
so organized. And then you guys posted one of the daily reel things and you were like, yeah, we're shooting on the Alexa Mini or the Alexa Mini.
The Alexa Mini Lite.
The Alexa Mini Lite. I was dying because you guys obviously shoot on the FS7. I shoot on the FS7. So I was dying. So I think I commented on that, and I think it just went from there.
Perfect. See, I had a hard time with social media for a long time because I was leaving the wedding photography world, and so I was trying to just ignore Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. I don't do Pinterest anymore, but I was just trying to ignore it. I took, I think, like 2 months off of any social media platform because I was just depressed. I didn't announce it to anyone. I just deleted the apps off my phone. And then I got back on them and I said, I'm only going to post about camera stuff. And I started making friends. Zach being one of them. Mitch makes his joke about the Alexa Mini Lite, and someone out there thought it was funny. So I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've met a few people in similar ways. It's just this like, you have this bond over a camera or a piece of gear, and it just kind of sparks the conversation. I mean, I've met a guy that lives, 20 minutes away from me that has the same camera that, we would have never started collaborating if, it hadn't been for social media. So it's an interesting, it's an interesting tool in our industry specifically.
Yeah, being able to meet people, from across the country and, potentially across the world in your industry. And then also like be able to like have some camaraderie and like root for like that person to succeed or those people. That's pretty freaking cool. You said something about finding a bond over a piece of gear. So that makes me think of a topic that Sam and I wanted to talk about today, which is your question that you asked us on Instagram, why Ronin versus Movi.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
We'll touch on that. We don't need to do that right now. Instead, I'm more interested probably in your background of film and what got you to where you are today. And maybe start off by, saying what it is you do, because our listeners probably don't even know that yet.
And that's a question I always struggle with answering, which is kind of funny because it's such an easy question. But, I'm a cinematographer, director of photography, freelance. And I work on, a lot of branded content, a lot of doc style content, and a little bit of commercial content. And that commercial content, I'm really trying, that's like the end goal is eventually to be working on more consistent commercial content. So it's been a crazy, my coming up through the ranks has been kind of crazy. My parents are both photographers, commercial photographers. My dad has owned his own studio for like 30 something years in Syracuse. And it was funny because he always would tell me, you can become anything you want, just don't become a photographer. Because he didn't want me to, kind of struggle with the things that he had struggled with becoming a photographer. And so it's crazy that I ended up, instead of shooting one picture, I'm shooting 24, 30, whatever. But I it was weird because, when I tell people that my parents were photographers, they're always like, oh, well, you were shooting pictures when you were 5 years old or 6 years old, you had a camera in your hand, whatever. And that really wasn't the case. I never fell in love with cameras until like junior high school. Me and my friends started playing paintball, and this was around the time that YouTube was like just taking off, and like you were just starting to be able to upload videos at this, to the internet at this time. And so we, of course we're getting into paintball, and we're watching these videos being made, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, I could do this. Like I could get a camera and, make something cool. And my dad, being like the photographer that he is, of course goes out and like researches like the best camera at the time and gets me like this Canon GL2 for Christmas one year, which is like total overkill for a kid, trying to just make videos for the first time. And but I get that thing, and that thing is a tank. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, the Canon GL2? Like, oh man, that thing was a tank. So that, I brought that out and shot paintball for 3 or 4 years with it, I think. And that thing was taking hits, and I'm outside with it in the rain, and all that. But that was really where I like fell in love with capturing emotion and capturing sports and capturing content. And at the time, I didn't really ever think that it was something that I could do professionally. It was just kind of something fun to do, and I was making some money off of it, which was also really good. But I still wanted to play baseball, for a living. And so as I kind of progressed and we got into high school, and I was still going down the track of like baseball player or like engineer is like in my mind.
Yeah.
And I get to the end of high school and start applying, and at this point now I've been shooting a while, and I'm like, all right, well, like I want to make movies. And you don't, like, looking back on it, you don't understand what that means to be like, oh, I want to shoot movies. Like you don't understand the process that it takes you to like get to that point, you know? So looking back on it, it's just like, what were you thinking, like, but that's what I wanted to do. So I ended up going to RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, which is like an hour away from Syracuse. And they have a film program. And I didn't get into the film program. I got into a program that was called digital cinema, which is like the science of cameras and light and color. And, like I had said, I was in a lot of engineering classes in high school. So I think that's why they kind of tracked me towards that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let me give it a shot. Let me see what it's about. And like, let me give it a shot. And so, I did that, but it wasn't very fulfilling. Learning, I love and I think you guys do too. You guys are, you guys are tech nerds like me.
Yeah.
And knowing that information that we were learning was great. Like learning about light and learning about the camera sensors and all that was awesome. But it pales in comparison to being behind a camera and capturing things. And so I ended up basically getting kicked out of the film school. I had a meeting with the dean in my junior year, and I vividly remember him saying, I don't like the way you've weaseled your way into the film classes. And I was in the film school, so I could get into these film classes very easily. And so I just remember him saying like, I don't like the way you've weaseled your way into these film classes. And so I got kicked out of the film school. Luckily I had enough credits already to take those film credits and make a multidisciplinary degree out of them. But there was that. And then I'll never forget that semester I was making an experimental film, and you have to go up, you screen your film at the end of the semester. And so I go screen my experimental film, and I go up there to answer the questions. And after it plays, and I'll never forget, the dean must not have remembered that he had kicked me out. The dean loved the film and was like, "Oh, like I really love like your sound design, blah, blah, blah." And all I wanted to say to him was, "Oh, well, thanks for kicking me out of the school. Like thanks." Like, well, whatever. But so college was so that kind of, my film school experience wasn't very good, but I was lucky to find the campus sports television show, which was mostly student run. And I kind of, instead of putting all my focus into these film classes, I just kind of took hold and put all of my focus into this campus sports television show, and kind of climbed the ranks there and ended up being director of production of it. And what it did was got me shooting like every single week. I had a camera in my hand every single week, shooting and like learning in real world situations. And that was where I fell in love with documentary filmmaking and sports, filmmaking. The fast-paced nature of it, the unexpected, the fact that you have to think ahead. You have to be thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead, which is true of in any shoot. You need to be thinking 3-4 steps ahead of people.
Yep.
So that was my experience in the film school wasn't great, but my experience at the television show and helping them, we were creating an hour-long show every month. So it was the production schedule was pretty insane, and you're a student. So that was where I learned everything I know, basically.
That's awesome.
And then, graduated and went and tried to, I got a job at a sports network called One World Sports it was a new sports network that was trying to launch global sports in the US. And we had a small creative team, and I think everyone should at one point, and I don't know who, somebody said this, I'm stealing this from someone, but everyone should go and work for a startup at some point, because the mentality, you're scratching and clawing, you're thinking outside the box. That was us. Like we're a small sports network, and you're trying to like make it. And it was just a great experience, and that experience allowed me to get set up down here in New York City. That experience allowed me to meet people down here. And then, so that way, when I did go freelance, it was, a little easier than just moving down to New York City, and just going freelance. Like I had contacts already, basically.
Yeah.
So that was where that helped, in addition to the experience of being like a startup.
And in that startup environment, I'm sure, as you said, as you're scratching and clawing for things, that you bring that same grit into your freelance, mentality, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you get a project, you guys, I'm sure, get projects that the budget isn't like great, and you kind of have to think about, how do you come at this in a way that's like cost effective for you, and I kind of draw on that experience of being at a startup where every project was low budget, and like, how do we make this the best it can possibly be with the limited resources that we have? So that's huge.
With that, would you say you're more interested in documentary filmmaking than you were, narrative prior, or do you still kind of have that goal or dream to go down the narrative route?
I think once I started shooting sports and getting into the documentary side of things, I found that I really enjoyed that a lot more than working with actors and working with a narrative story. And it's still true to this day. I still enjoy going into a scene that's not controlled and capturing it in a way that's unique. And and while I am learning to enjoy having more time on shoots and lighting and and having more control. Like, I do enjoy that, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that. There's something about not being able to control anything and having a camera and being the fly on the wall, that is, it's like going back to your roots, kind of like you're just there and you're just trying to capture something and make something out of it. So I love that. But, and I don't, to kind of answer your question a better way, I don't see myself ever really getting into narrative filmmaking, and that's something that might change, but I like in the next 5 years, I don't see myself doing that. And one thing with, I guess, being a DP, like my brain, what I've realized is my brain, like I don't like to come up with the ideas. Like, I love having a collaboration with a director where they're coming up with, they're coming up with the idea, and like I'm responsible for like problem solving and how are we going to capture, how are we going to best capture and tell, their story. And I think that comes from, being in situations that you can't control. I'm more comfortable being given a scene and then, translating that into an image. And I've noticed that a lot of directors kind of are on the flip side of that. Like, they have the idea in their head of this grandioso thing. And they don't care how it gets executed. I don't know if I would say they're more like creative, but they're just, the way that they think is different than the way that I kind of approach things. And maybe you guys have that kind of relationship.
I would say that's how Sam and I operate. I will come up with an idea, and then Sam's thinking, okay, well, now I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get what it is you want. Oftentimes he's like, I don't understand what you're freaking saying. I don't know what you mean. Can you go further?
Yeah.
Did you ever, I was just looking this up, Strengths Finders?
Yeah, Strength Finders.
Have you ever done that one, Zach?
No.
It's a book. You read the first couple pages, you take the test, gives you your top 5 strengths. We did it at a company I used to work for. Ideation was one of my top 5 strengths, and I was just looking it up really quick. I'm fascinated by ideas. I like finding connections between things that might not seem connected, things that are obscure. I just thought it was kind of interesting that you were describing something similar. You like the ideas, you like to have an idea come to you, and you like to figure out how to make it work.
I don't necessarily love the process of coming up with an idea, but I love taking someone's idea.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that's why Mitch and I work together, because Mitch comes up with ideas. I like being handed an idea, figuring out how it's supposed to work.
And it took a while for me to like realize, and it was when I was at the startup that, I was working with one of my close friends now and collaborators who's more on the director side, the more of the guy coming up with these ideas. And it took a while for me to realize, like, I always felt like, he's just spitting out idea after idea after idea. And I'm sitting there like, I'll come up with like one or two, but like, I just really enjoy listening to him come up with the ideas and then me taking it and like, how do we execute this in a practical way. And so it took me a while to realize, like, all right, well, like, it's not bad. It's not bad that I'm on that side. You need people on both sides to make this thing work.
Totally.
So
the other strength I wanted to bring up was maximizer, which is, I'm interested, and I'm relating these to you, Zach, because you're bringing these all up. I'm thinking about these about you. Excellence, not average, is your measure. Taking something from below average to slightly above average is not something you're interested in doing. But taking something that's really good already and making it amazing, that's something you're interested in doing. I think it's funny to realize that you're all the way across the stinking
country.
Nation.
Yeah.
And you're doing the same things. This is really cool.
To your point, though, with the, you need people on both sides. I mean, I think that just applies like down the credit line or I say it, somebody else probably said it before me, but there's a reason credits scroll at the end of a film. And it, I think one of the very first things you said was talking about wanting to get into film or make movies, and you're like, I didn't even know what that meant at the time. That's true. I mean, if I had another me that I worked with, we wouldn't get the images. I mean, even though I can carry a camera and get what I would say pretty decent images, like, I work with a DP that takes it to the next level. Like, here's the ideas, and so it's a definitely a symbiotic relationship.
It's symbiotic. Yeah. He's also contractually obligated to mention how good of a DP I am on every podcast episode.
Contractually obligated. That's the podcast has its own contract.
It's in the fine print.
I guess sticking on that topic or subject, in the sports world, you said you played baseball. You now get to work with baseball athletes. So can you tell us a little bit about what some of those more recent projects are? And I guess I'm curious, you shoot on the FS7. Is there ever a time you're not one of those people that has to shoot in 300 frames per second to like get the slow-mo, for TV? You're behind the scenes shooting the documentary style type stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was actually, one of the connections that I made through working at the Sports Network, it was a friend of a friend thing where he knew a DP that worked for MLB Network. And so I was lucky enough to, and go figure, he's shooting on an FS7. So it was kind of this, match made in heaven thing. but I was lucky enough to get in with, this DP that was shooting MLB Network stuff and, AC for him. And so we basically, that was a few years ago. And so now, we've been doing promos for MLB Network for, I've been doing them for 3 years now. But it's interesting, because like I was saying, I was such a baseball, I thought I was going to play baseball as a profession, for a long time. And every time I walk into MLB Network, and I don't know if you guys have seen MLB Network, they have this huge, massive field studio. And I'm looking around and it's like I never imagined I would be in here, doing what I'm doing. So
you imagined it as a, like the highest
I would have
paid,
imagined it as like a player.
Yeah.
Like, that would be awesome, But no, it's been cool to work with him as a DP, and mostly I'm working as an op or an AC or an op with him, depending on what we're doing. And then recently we just got back from spring training where we had 6 different setups. So we were shooting, we shot some stuff on the FS700. We shot 3 FS5s, and we shot my FS7, and then I think an A7S too.
You have to have one of those in there.
Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, but 6 different setups. So I was mainly responsible for what we would call the limbo setup, which was this dark, moody, kind of gritty looking setup where we shot some high speed stuff. What is the FS5? 124K bursts.
Yeah.
So we shot some stuff, some super slow-mo stuff there, and then we shot just some normal speed stuff. But basically what they're doing is this is their time. This is MLB Network's time where they can kind of they just run players through all these different setups, these green screens, any kind of promo setups that they want to get them sitting in on.
Yeah.
It's their time to get these players before they're busy, actually playing. So it was kind of it was a crazy schedule. You're there and like all these players will just show up and we just run them through all the all the different studios and everything. And so it was cool. It was my first year doing it. I couldn't do it last year because I was at the Olympics.
Heck yeah.
So unfortunately I couldn't do it last year.
That was the Winter Olympics, right? And yeah, I remember seeing your pictures down there. It's wild. That's wild. Yeah, we've been talking on Instagram for that long. It's about time you're on this podcast. By the way, this is episode 10.
Episode 10.
Episode 10. I mean, that's like,
double digits.
Yeah, double digits. Pretty freaking cool. So you mentioned something that is totally a tangent for me, but is the 124K in bursts. Sam, didn't you find out something?
Well, I think I might have found a workaround. I'm not sure. I still have to mess with it. So we have the FS5 Mark II, but we have a Atomos Shogun on top of it. And we know that it does 120 frames a second 4K burst. But one day I clicked record on the Atomos instead of on the camera, and it just kept recording and it never stopped. And then I pulled it up on the computer and it looked like it was 120 frames a second. It just went on for 20 seconds or however long I left it going. So I've never read anything about this. I've never seen anything on this. I just did it, and now we've just done it this whole time, and we haven't worried about burst mode.
I mean, I just started using the FS5, so I was trying to figure that thing out. Coming from the FS7 is a little there's a few little like quirks.
There's definitely some weird quirks about it, and with the Atomos, Mitch has had a hard time figuring out when it actually is recording, because it says there's a button that says record,
Yep.
And then when you click it, it turns into a dot. So when it's recording, it's a dot, but when it's not recording, it says record.
Yes.
And he only recently noticed that there's a giant red square around the whole screen when it is recording, and he was like, "Sam, have you noticed this?"
Oh, I knew you noticed.
I know.
I
but
felt like an
it's
idiot.
definitely really weird. I don't understand the user interface. It's such a strange interface, and the fact that we never really know if it is or isn't recording makes it worrisome. You click record and you're staring at it for a minute before you finally. Okay, so I think, okay,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I gotta say, Atomos, I'm a small HD guy. I know you guys.
Yeah.
Me too.
I have so many small HD monitors, and I don't know. Like we used the Sumo 19 a little bit, and I mean it's awesome that it records, but the user interface, it confuses me.
Yeah, I agree.
I expect green standby at the bottom, STBY.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to switch to red record.
Red, yeah.
I'm so into that small HD world that now that we've switched to the Atomos, we were just in Patagonia, and we filmed by like 7 of the 9 days.
We had, we probably filmed about that much, and we had 7.5 total hours of footage that we came back with.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the first day we were there, and I was filming Sam, and I had this gorgeous shot set up, like wind is just blowing
I know where
trees,
this is going.
and Sam does this cast, perfect set, and I'm like, yes, I'm like just right on him, and then I go and I'm like, I'm gonna get an angle, like get on his right side and get him bringing the fish in, and then the release, and then like right as he's releasing, I look down and I realize I'm not recording. And I was so pissed because I swear to God I pressed that freaking button. Anyways, and I'm so pissed off. And it's in my mind, it was amazing. I mean, it was a gorgeous shot.
You'll always remember.
Yep,
You'll always remember it in here.
So,
just won't have it on the card.
Had I been on the FS5, we would have had that footage.
The 7.
FS7. Thank you, God.
With the small HD. I agree. I love. I'm looking at our FS7 over there. I think Atomos will continue to better their user interface. Small HD does a great job. Blackmagic does a great job. Atomos has got to catch up. Because the only reason we bought an FS5 is because we could run RAW into that Atomos recorder. We can record ProRes. We have 7.5 hours of ProRes footage. I went through all of it, and we have exactly 56 minutes of final usable footage that I went through shot selections.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff. And it's all great. I'm really glad we took that camera because it was able to break down a little smaller than the FS7, shove it into a backpack.
Oh, it's the form factor on it. Every time I pick it up, I'm like, this thing feels so small.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because my camera keeps getting bigger, or
it does.
if it just is really small. It's just every time I pick it up, I'm like, I would just wish this was the FS7. Like,
for people watching this on YouTube, you'll have to send us a picture of your FS7, and we'll put it on the screen right here.
I have screenshots.
Last week's shoot, it was beefy last week.
It was beefy.
Yeah, it
was
big.
We were talking over messages on Instagram, and you always come back to this one thing, is that all of the pieces are necessary. Every time the rig grows, it's because there was one more little piece that you needed to put on there for a very specific job that had to happen.
Yeah.
So the Easy Rig comes out because you can't physically hold it.
Yeah, the Easy Rig, that was my latest purchase. Totally necessary. But I think there's two sides to being like a gear addict. There's like these people that buy gear that like they don't use.
Yep.
Like they buy this gear to put on there that they never use. And then there's the people that buy gear, which I consider myself. You buy gear because you know that when it comes down to getting the shot, like it's gonna work and it's gonna make your life easier. And so like you said, like I hate having things on the camera that are like unnecessary, and I hate having things on the camera that are just like hanging off the camera, like because when you're like running around, like you have the easy rig, you're going through doors, like it's like I need it to be as small as possible, but it ends up being, it ends up looking big, but like when you're whipping it around, like nothing is loose or nothing is like flying around, and like that's what's big for me. Is like, I'm kind of a little anal on like building it so that it's like as compact as possible, but it's everything on there has a purpose. And it's like last week we were doing a branded content shoot down in Nashville for Fox News, and it was like, all right, well, you have like the wireless feed is on there now, and like the Tilta is now on there, but like the Tilta, it's like, all right, well now I don't have to like, I can control the zoom and the focus from one hand, like, without being on the lens. Like, so it's these little additions that like do end up making, they make a difference, and it's you need them. And so it's, I have no problem, I have no problem carrying it around, especially with the easy rig.
Yeah.
If you told me I had to get rid of the easy rig and carry it around, then we're in a different in a different boat.
You mentioned though that you want to have it as compact as possible, and we've kind of watched the very specific things that you're doing with your camera to make it as compact as possible. For instance, you have this little L bracket for a microphone shock mount. And on our FS7, the stock handle, the little stock microphone holder, it's trash. And ours was just kind of semi-hanging there. And we were actually getting into problems where we could hear in post-production, we could hear a little, little sound. It's like, that's the mic holder wiggling.
Yeah.
And this is such a bummer. And then Mitch noticed you had this little L bracket from Small Rig?
Yeah. Small
and
rig.
then this big, awesome shock mount, and it all fit so tidy. So we went out, you sent us the link, we got that, and we got it on both of our cameras. And it's so cool the way that you've designed all these little compact setups that are actually better than the stock stuff that Sony sends you anyways.
It's funny because like the FS7 as a camera, like I'm so happy with the specs of the FS7, and like I've had it for, I don't know, 3 years now, I think. And like, and you guys know, it's like, it's a workhorse, and it's like, it's still relevant, which is crazy for a camera, in this time. But it's just every other piece that Sony added onto it. I'm like, why? Like the grip, like, not having the grip be able to, quickly move around, or, you have to unscrew it to slide it out, and like the shock mount for for that, and it's like, it's just these little other accessory things that they really like messed up on. But here, the body, I'm just looking at it. It's like the body of it. Like it's just the body at this point. And it's like, but it's just, it's awesome.
It's awesome.
I'm
going to plug my computer in really quick.
All right. You're about to die. I love that freaking camera. Are you still rocking the original top handle?
So I just got rid of the original top handle when I got the Easy Rig.
Okay.
Because I have the quick release for the Easy Rig, and I needed the 1/4-20 or 3/8 screw holes on top.
Okay.
And so it pained me. It really pained me to get rid of the top handle on there, because I did really like that top handle.
Yeah.
And I searched for, I had like specific criteria for a top handle. I wanted it to be closed. Like I wanted it to have, both sides of it closed.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be NATO rail, like so quick release basically. And I needed it to obviously have the holes on top so I could put the easy rig quick release on there. And so I'm searching and like not finding anything, and Small Rig makes one, and it's just like, it's a behemoth. It makes the it's as tall as the camera is, like on top of the camera. And so I had emailed them and said like, hey guys, like, why can't you just make this thing like, cut it in half? Like, why is it so tall? And they basically didn't want to do that. And I ended up finding, they made a top handle. They do this thing called a Dream Rig program, and where you can submit your own designs. And they had made a top handle for someone that was very akin to like the Alexa Mini top handles, or the Alexa Mini, or like a Mira top handle. And I realized what I could do with it was take two of the posts and put them together and make like a closed top handle like I wanted. So I ended up getting that, and so that's on there now. But it was a process. It's always like, you're looking for new gear, and it's like, you're trying to find everything that hits your list of criteria. Siri just,
so did you have to sacrifice the stop start button, or did you add one
of
those? Oh yeah,
I did.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. That's probably one of my favorite features about that top handle on the FS7 is.
It is. Yeah. And it's just
like
comfy. It's a nice top handle.
Yeah.
But
I like the start stop button, but I've noticed that I will accidentally push it more often than I will intentionally push it. And so I ended up just locking it.
Yeah, I noticed that when you hand me the camera. It's locked.
Because I keep accidentally pushing it. So I could do without it. But Evan Borsier, I can't remember what his name is. I can't remember what his name is. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Yep.
I've followed him for a long time, since he was doing videos for Lens Pro to Go. But he did a YouTube video about his Easy Rig setup recently, and he showed his quick release, and it was really interesting.
Oh, he has the Kong Frog quick release on
like
his.
the eye bolt.
He
has an Amira. He goes to grab it, and he just clicks it in and picks it up. My eyes just poked out of my head.
Well, so I went with the Easy Rig quick release, which they came out with last year at NAB, and it's literally just it's just a little metal ball that you screw into the top of the camera.
Oh,
and then the quick release just snaps right onto it.
That's cool.
And I've never used the Kong Frog clip, but the good part about this is you get all that extra, like with the Kong Frog, you end up losing about probably 5 or 6 inches, so you can't go up as high. But with the Easy Rig one, you're down to like 2 inches, so you can get the camera all the way up to the top of the arm.
We got the Flow Cine arm on the top because we'll get into this. This is what we wanted to get to today. We got the Easy Rig so that we could actually use the Ronin, because we got the Ronin 2 with an FS7 or the FS5. It's so heavy. So we got the Flow Cine arm on the top of our Easy Rig, and we can go up pretty high with that thing. But we've noticed when we're running just the Easy Rig and a camera, we are using the Easy Rig to get top-down shots so often. We will go, we'll just send it all the way up, point it down, and the connection point that comes with the Easy Rig, it can sit on the FS7. It's got this little angle, this 45-degree angle on the back of the handle. So the arm will go all the way back. Then you can point the camera straight down. and then with the Tilta the Nucleus M,
yeah.
Mitch can pull focus, and I can just hold the camera looking straight down. So you said there's two types of people who buy gear. I used to work with some producers that just bought gear all the time and then turned around and sold it on eBay. And we never used it, and it was really sad. Mitch and I went for a year without buying anything. We were doing car ads, getting car shots. I was sitting in the back of his truck bed holding the FS7, just getting slow motion footage, hoping that it would look fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did that over and over and over again. And then we finally decided there's no way we can keep doing these car shots and get the quality that we want without some sort of a gimbal. We kept getting these top-down shots at coffee shops or at the med spa that we're doing stuff for. We were doing top-down shots, and I'm standing there holding the FS7,
hoping you don't drop it on somebody's face.
I don't drop it on someone's face. I've got my pinky on the gears of the lens, just making sure I'm in focus. So over and over and over again, we were doing these shots that we really wanted. So the Ronin and the Easy Rig were calculated decisions. These are shots that we keep going for over and over again. There's a piece of gear that exists that would make this so much easier.
And we're pretty run and gun with some of these shoots, like the med spa. Sometimes they're like, hey, can you shoot tomorrow or can you shoot today? They happen to be right down the hall from us. A few at the car dealerships, they're like, hey, can you shoot tomorrow? We lost Sam. He'll be back on. But can you shoot tomorrow or whatever? And so we don't live in as big of market, obviously, I guess, where we can easily
to go rent stuff.
Yeah, rent stuff. So for us, it just made most sense to own it, because if we need to be somewhere, tomorrow, then we can get there. What's up?
Yeah.
Just classic.
Your
Sam's MacBook.
Did you get?
It just stopped. It went black screen on me.
Are you going to turn it on?
I'm going to. Yeah. Do you hear the fans?
You knew that was going to happen this podcast.
The thing's going to take off.
We knew it. Zach saying we knew that was going to happen this podcast.
We knew that was going to happen in the podcast. I'm not even running Premiere.
Didn't like that I'm
just trying
told
to
you
have
throw it out the window.
Google Hangout.
Do you have all your other applications closed, or
yes,
did you?
They're all closed. I have Evernote open just in case I want to write stuff down.
Evernote's probably killing you.
Evernote is killing me.
Yeah,
this is great
because they're trying to listen to what you're saying.
The podcast with Zach and my laptop just kills itself. I wouldn't have been satisfied with this podcast episode if my computer didn't die on us.
It wouldn't have been, yeah.
It was apropos, for sure. Can you hear fine?
I can, yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
We should have just been doing this the whole time.
We probably should have, yeah.
It's okay. I wanted it to look cool. Like, we got 2 laptops and...
Yeah.
Wanted to feel included.
I wanted to feel included. That's all it is.
We put our listeners through all sorts of stuff.
We do. The last episode, we were interrupted by FedEx and then UPS.
Oh yeah, I saw the beginning. I watched the first little bit of it.
Yeah, pretty funny.
I think on that was a joint podcast. I think on the Amalgam podcast, he left in
the whole
thing because he said that he likes listening to our podcast for the gear talk. He doesn't understand half of it, but he loves seeing us get into the gear. So he left in us going through the boxes and showing what we got. We cut that out.
Yeah. We just said, oh, there's UPS, and then cut. And then, so.
Suspenseful.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of UPS and FedEx, we had, and all this gear talk that we got going on, we had, Sam mentioned the Ronin 2 arrive and the Easy Rig. We got a question from you that we sort of hyped up at the beginning of this podcast. I think we mentioned it a few podcasts ago as well. But you asked the question, why Ronin over Moby? So,
yeah.
Do you want to hear our answer, or do we want to ask you your thoughts before that.
I want to know his thoughts.
You want to know his
I want to
thoughts?
know his thoughts.
Yeah, let's hear your
Well,
thoughts.
so I have worked with the Ronin 2. We shot some stuff last year on it, and man, it's a beast.
It's heavy.
It's a beefy, heavy gimbal, but so easy to balance with the dials.
Yeah.
Like, that's so much better than unlocking and locking, and the batteries are obviously way bigger. So I played around with the Movi Pro, and one of my good buddies just got one about a month ago, and I'm hoping to get him on some jobs and we can use it and kind of see what it's all about. But I know he upgraded to the Ronin batteries, like a lot of people are doing with the there's an attachment that you can get.
I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a Ignite Digi, I think. It's like an Australian company.
I didn't know that people were actually using Ronin batteries on that thing. That's cool.
Yeah. I guess they get a lot more runtime out of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really in the market to buy one. I kind of prefer to hire my buddy since he has one.
Totally.
But I love the idea of the Movi Pro and how light it is, and like you know, especially for the shoots that I'm on, you know, where you could like pick it up and go shoot. But I'm finding that when I want gimbal stuff as a DP, like I just want to hire somebody and have them handle it.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of, you know, direct them as to what I want, but I kind of want them to handle it. And so, in that case, the Ronin 2, like, I think the options for the Ronin 2 are way cooler. Obviously, like the car mount stuff is way cooler, you know, and the fact that the motors are so strong. But yeah, I was interested to hear why you guys went that route and not the Movi, being that is FreeFly near you guys in?
Yeah, I think they're right outside Seattle.
Seattle, I think. Yeah.
I don't think that really went into our thought process, is that they were right outside Seattle. I have always been interested in FreeFly, but we talked about gimbals for a long time. We were trying to decide if we even wanted to get one, or if we just wanted to try to rent one or whatever. But Mitch has a list of pros and cons for each of them. We ended up deciding on one of them. We had to just pull the trigger and not worry about whether we were picking the right one or not.
Yeah.
I think some of it boiled down to, well, DJI in general just being like a leader in all of this gimbal,
all the tech,
drone photography space. And so there's kind of that trust in the brand, and that's nothing to knock on Movi. Also, we want to carry a larger camera than even the FS7.
We've got our sights set on an LF.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I don't think we'd probably throw an LF on the Ronin, unless it was a more controlled environment. But even the Alexa Mini, with all of it, you know, rigged out
with heavier lenses,
heavier lenses,
way heavier glass. Because if we're going to use an RE of any kind, we would be shooting anamorphic.
Yeah, and so throwing that, being able to attach it to, well, you know, some sort of moving vehicle rig would be awesome. I don't think we would be the ones. I don't know. I don't think we'd be the ones with the crane at this point.
We're not going to be the ones with the crane.
Yeah.
And we're assuming the crane operator would have whatever they want us to attach the camera to. But the idea that we might be putting a lot heavier weight on here than the cameras we currently use, between lenses and whatever we need to rig on it, and we might be putting this outside of a car with higher wind speeds.
And we've already experienced driving, you know, 30 miles an hour, Sam sitting in the back of the pickup with the
climbing
easy
harness.
rig, the climbing harness. Yeah, he's the easy rig and the Ronin 2. And I'm not saying the Movi couldn't handle whatever wind that he was experiencing, but I think for us, it's like we want the most stable shot, and we know a lot of those things.
I'm not saying that the Movi couldn't have handled it, but there were some turns that we took that I could feel, I could hear the motors working, and that made me confident that we picked the right one. If the Ronin 2 with a 70 mile per hour wind speed rating is struggling to keep the camera centered right now at 30 miles an hour, I think we went with the right one.
Yeah.
And I will say that lighter package is attractive, especially with, you've picked it up. We've picked it up, and Zach has bigger muscles than both of us combined.
Definitely.
So if he's over there saying this thing is heavy, then no,
it's heavy.
Yeah,
it's heavy.
No, it's attractive, and who knows? In a year we might decide, screw this and let's sell it, and
we could
go for something else. I don't think
there's a wrong choice. I think you guys are. I've seen both sides of the argument as to like, oh, DJI is, established and a leader, but then there's Free Fly that's a little more, a smaller company, but maybe it's easier to get in contact with a person, someone if you have a problem.
And they're in America.
Yeah. And they're in America. Yeah, and they're an American company.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a wrong decision, and I definitely can tell you that I prefer the balancing on that Ronin is so easy, with the wheels. It's just that's huge, and that's huge when you're like, when you're doing dock stuff where you're running around, like you're saying, you guys don't have a lot of time, like being able to quickly rebalance, if you have to throw something on, if you got to switch batteries or whatever it is, that's huge. So I don't think there's a wrong choice. I was kind of interested in seeing, why you guys went one route rather than the other.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I don't think I'm so focused on the brand either being DJI. There was part of it that was attractive with them being established, but on the other side of it, we were looking at what follow focus systems we could use, and DJI has their own, and it would probably be better fit or better suited for the Ronin system in terms of like being powered off the Ronin. But we came across the Nucleus M, and we're like, that's way more attractive. I think it's less money than the DJI.
It's less money, and it has better reviews than the DJI focus system.
And it has two gears, two motors, whereas the DJI only came with one for I think $400 more, and it would primarily only run off of the Ronin, whereas the M we could use with anything. So anyways, and then we ordered it, and we saw that you had it, or we're rocking it. So
I had it for a while, and I didn't really like post about it because I was like kind of testing it out and like seeing.
Good call.
If it was something I was gonna kind of stick with, and no, I've been really impressed with it because, I mean, ever since I back when I started shooting paintball, and DSLRs came about, and we were having to manual focus. I've always wanted something where I could hold on to the camera and aim and be able to focus at the same time. And, it only took 10 years for them, for something like that to come out. But I've been really, really impressed with it. And it's made, you guys have the Cine lenses with the the gears on them. And one of the things that I didn't think about when me and not my business partner, but my partner in crime, director buddy, went in on the 30 to 105 Canon, was that the focus rotation is 300 degrees, which I don't know.
That's
on the
massive.
18 to 35, is it 300 or is it?
I don't think it's that far. I don't think the
Maybe
focus
it's like-
throw is that far, but
it's probably
pretty
close,
far.
though. I would say,
Yeah.
maybe not.
If my computer was alive, I would Google it.
Anyways, keep going.
Well, on one hand, it's awesome because I love having that long throw for interviews and where you're trying to find people's eyes, and obviously it just feels so good when you're rolling focus. But when you're running and gunning and you're moving quick, it can kind of be a hindrance when you're cranking on the focus to get it all the way to where you need it to be. And so one of the things that's been great about the Nucleus M is just having that hand wheel and being able to cruise through the 300 degree focus, to get right where I need to be.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's so accurate, and you have 3 different throws that you can, I think it's like 170, like 90 and 45 on the finger wheel that you can change. So if you really needed to focus through 300 degrees of focus quickly, you could switch it to the
That's
short
kinda
mode.
Cool. I didn't know that. We haven't ever really used the handles. We've just been using the fizz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just been using the handles. So the other thing
really
was I always I wanted to be able to put the left hand grip on the front right near the lens so that I could hold that and I could hold the battery on the back and kind of direct the camera.
Okay.
But they only have the thumb, the what is it? The joystick is only on the right handle.
Yeah.
And I had asked them about it. I had stopped down when I was in LA. I stopped down to Burbank to have them fix something. And I'd asked them like, hey, like when's it going to come out? And they didn't really give me an answer. They were just like, oh yeah, it's coming, but we don't know when. The joystick for the left hand.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it's just like screwed on there. And so I unscrew it, flip it to the other side. It's upside down. And I'm like, oh, maybe it'll work. So I turn it on and everything. Lo and behold, it works. Like if you just flip it to the other side. And it's funny because like people on Facebook are like, when are they going to come out with the left joystick? And I haven't really said publicly like, oh, you can do this, because I don't want them to like freak out, like I don't want Tilda to kind of get mad. But yeah, if you want to swap it over to the left side, just unscrew it and put it on the left side.
I just kind of assumed you could unscrew it and flip it over. It's funny to hear
but
you
they don't say
going
that,
through all of that. That's funny that they wouldn't say that, because I took one look at it and I thought, oh, it comes with a joystick.
Yep.
And if you want it on the left hand,
put it on the
you unscrew it, put it on the left hand.
Yeah, I think because in the manual it says like left hand joystick will be available.
Oh, okay.
Da, 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 da.
See, I didn't read the manual.
They probably want people to buy the left hand when it comes out. They don't want...
Right. And when you flip it, it's upside down. Like the writing is on it is upside down.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I was like, well, I don't care as long as it, as long as I can, because you can change the direction of it in the menu.
Right.
So it's like, so it ends up working out really well. But those grips are awesome. And now that you guys have got the wireless feed, you just attach them right on there and
totally that Focus Bolt RX.
Yeah, we
RX.
still have yet to turn it on.
Yeah,
we turned it. Well, you guys haven't. Did you get it? You got it like a week ago, didn't you?
Yeah, a week ago.
Oh my god.
We did. We haven't had any shoots where we've needed to use it yet, and the couple of things we've gone out to shoot were so quick decisions to run out and shoot. We haven't turned it on, but we did go. We did go shoot one thing. We were at this coffee shop. We had this really complicated straight down shot that we wanted to get where we needed to pull focus. A point, A to B, really fast. And I was holding the camera up with the easy rig straight down, and Mitch was looking at the monitor. I turned the monitor so he could see it. He's trying to pull focus. He missed the mark over and over again. We put that in a daily. And then when we finished it, I looked at him and I said, didn't we just buy a wireless monitor and a focus system so that we wouldn't have to deal with this anymore? Yeah, we did.
I'm pretty sure we mentioned bringing it, though. Like, there were a few things. No, it'll be a quick shoot.
Yeah.
And it's freaking, yeah.
And it's one of those things. Like, it's one of those things where it's like that piece of equipment that's like, it's like, you're so on the fence. Like, do I bring it to bring more stuff? But then in the end, it's like the thing that you need to make the shot, to pull off that one shot.
Totally.
That's why we need a Sprinter van. Keep it all ready to go, all loaded up.
So really quick, just I did fact checking on. I thought I was going to say it was like 250 degrees on that.
Yeah,
it's 180.
It's 180.
It's you're throwing quite a bit further.
Yeah,
and the reason I think I said ours is close is because like a shot like that, where I'm like, just seem to be endlessly pulling the gear.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like,
I mean, it's nice. It feels, I would rather have 300 than have
180.
The 80 that's on a still lens.
God, yeah.
It's,
we were running with, I mentioned that I came from the wedding photography world. I had Canon primes. Mitch's wife is a great wedding photographer, and she has all Canon primes. And so when you're shooting on a DSLR with those prime lenses and you're focusing with just 80 degrees, the first time I started taking out these Sigma cinema lenses with that 180 degree focus throw, interviews, I was able to get right in on the eyes. I wasn't sure with the still lenses. I wasn't sure if I was on the eyes or if I got like close enough. It's like, I can't really. And then if someone moved just slightly, it sucks. Not in focus anymore. And I can't really fix that now, because then you're going to see the big breathing or whatever. But now we can.
You have to go all the way out to like get it back to, focus. It's like.
Yeah. Now we can just sit there and keep your hand on the lens and keep it dialed on the eyeballs. It's so nice.
Yep.
It is. It is. I freaking love those lenses. Also, Zach, when we were like buying this new gear, I hate to talk about prices because people ask all the freaking time, but you know what things cost.
Yeah.
Somebody, we were buying the FS5, and Sam was like, "Oh, we could just get the Sigma Art, just the photo,
the still photo version of it."
And I was like, "No, let's just get the Cine." And I wasn't a part of the purchase process for the Cine versions, and I had in my mind, for whatever reason, that they were just twice the price. Like, instead of $800, it's $1,600. And then
whoever we were talking to, they were like, "Yeah, well, I didn't get the Cine because they were so expensive." And you looked at them like they were crazy.
$1,600. Like, I mean, that's expensive. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm like, it's not such a big leap in my mind. Like, you might as well spend that. But then I go and I'm like, I'm in the conversation with Brian, who's going to be on the podcast later, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're $1,600. He's like, no, dude, they're $4,000. I was like, what? What?
You just realized on the spot.
Yeah. So we decided for the meantime. Is that still recording or?
It's still recording. I think the small HD turned off.
Okay, that's all right.
The camera is plugged in to power in the wall, so it is still running.
Okay, so I met in the meantime, what we've decided to do is, if we're rocking two cameras, that either one of us will have
in
the 18.
The meantime.
In the meantime, no, I'm talking about like till we afford to buy.
We've got an 18 to 35 Cine and a 50 to 100 Cine.
So one of us
One
will
of
be
us
at 50.
has to use the 50 to
Yeah.
100. Oh no.
Yeah.
It's such a terrible, giant, beautiful lens.
And I went 100 no sticks.
100 millimeters,
gosh.
no sticks. We have a
living dangerously.
Dangerous.
Oh, living dangerously.
Yeah.
So
Unusable.
oh my gosh. Our next podcast episode is going to be with our buddy Ryan Ferguson. He does weddings. He has two companies, wedding films and then commercial films here in town. We've been friends with him for a long time, but we have a long-standing joke about whether it's possible to go 100 millimeters handheld with no sticks, just keeping it stable. I don't know where the joke started. I can't remember, but we're constantly sending videos to each other. Hey, check it out. I want 100 millimeters with no sticks. Look at how stable this is.
I used the 5100. When was it? On Friday, last Friday, and but I had the easy rig on, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
That doesn't
So,
count at all.
That
That's too
doesn't
easy.
count.
Yeah, too easy. Cheater.
Way
I'm
too
cheating.
easy. No, it's I love those lenses. I really do. But yeah, they do cost a pretty penny. The lenses that we're interested in, which I'm sure you've come across, are the Atlas anamorphics.
Yeah.
But they've been on pre-order for like 5 years. Probably not 5 years, but I should have been more hyperbolic. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Zach, tell me more about you. Tell us what your next 5 years looks like. You said you don't see yourself doing narratives in 5 years, but that could change. But so what are you hoping to do?
I mean, the goal right now this year, I've only been freelance this will be my third year being 100% freelance. So and when I initially took that jump, that first year was, I would probably say 60% editing, 75% editing, and then, 25% shooting maybe. Not that I had been shooting that whole time. It just was the nature of the work that I was getting was more editing at the time. And then last year I really kind of started turning down editing jobs and going after a lot more shooting gigs. And I think it did kind of take a year to get my name out there and get my feet, under me. And, so I was able to create some contacts and, and really sustain that like shooting work last year. So now this year it's kind of, this year I feel a lot less pressure to take every job, which is good.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's I think this year the goal is I need to do some like personal work, some work that like I'm really proud of how it looks, and so that's one of the goals this year. And the goal, the 5-year goal is really to be doing more commercial, more higher end branded content stuff. I think that it's not only is the money there in that work, and not that it's about the money, but it's more about these clients are willing to pay good money to produce something that's really good. And so I want to kind of take that stuff to the next level. And because I feel like last week we were doing a branded content shoot for Fox News, and their branded content department is trying to get off the ground, and so I'm really invested in with them and trying to, we're trying to make their content better so that they can get bigger clients so that they can, even though it's Fox News, like they're still, the group is still in its infancy. So we're still trying to produce better content. So it's like anything, like I'm still trying to learn, and I'm still trying to go out on shoots and pick up new things. And, I think one of the things is you have to be patient in this when you're in this. Like I understand that I'm not going to be shooting, a $70,000 commercial this year or like I'm totally fine being patient. Like I'm totally fine, waiting and learning and going out on shoots and honing. But the goal is to just kind of keep climbing that ladder, and working with people, better and better people. And, I'm lucky that I'm in a good area, and I feel like I'm in a good spot. I feel like I'm where I should be, basically, which is good.
It's great.
But
that's awesome. Some of I would say that's a similar goal for us. Besides, we do have the goal of telling some narrative stories in short form. We have a series pilot that we'd like to shoot eventually. And then we've got some feature work that we've started writing as well. So that's like long term.
Yep.
But I think in the meantime, definitely picking up those larger commercial clients. And you're right, it's not about the money, but it is like, if there's a difference between like a $5,000 or $10,000 budget that's like, hey, we want it to look like this, and it's like, well, that's $100,000 or $50,000 budget or whatever. But again, to your point earlier about problem solving, trying to do what you can with that limited budget, I think it only makes you better. And it's like I don't know if you listen to Film Riot's podcast at all with Ryan Conley.
Yeah.
But he had somebody on recently that he was I think he was a producer on some A24 films, and he said his no is never his final answer. I've talked about this before, but on the podcast, but no is never his final answer. He'll say no is the start to an answer. It's not the end to an answer. So if somebody says, hey, can we do this? It's like, well, no. Or can we do this in an hour? No, we couldn't do it in an hour, but we could get something very similar if we did X, Y, and Z and get it done in an hour. But if you want what you originally asked for, it's going to take like 5 hours or whatever. So problem solving, figuring that stuff out on limited budget is like, it's fun. And I think it makes you more nimble and prepared for those bigger budget projects down the road. Yeah. And we have a friend of ours I went to college with who lives in Portland, and he's lead man in set deck and special effects. So he's on that side of the realm of filmmaking. And his he worked on a Xbox commercial this past year. I think it might be Super Bowl worthy. I don't know, but they had a $100,000 art department budget. And I'm like, what? This is ridiculous. And for one ad, and then I think he worked on a Mercedes-Benz a Super Bowl ad the year before, and you see how much these bigger brands are willing to like pour into the best quality stories and visuals, and it really does. I mean, it takes, we were talking about what you needing people on both sides of the aisle. Like, you need people, if you want everything to be perfect and to look, Hollywood style, you need that. You don't need a full Hollywood crew necessarily, but you need people that are focused like purely on lighting, purely on, sound and the set decoration. And anyways, it's
yeah. I think what it comes down to is you're just constantly trying to make each project better than the last one. And if you do that consistently, then somebody's going to notice. And whether that ends up being someone that hires you or someone that's
gets you in the door somewhere else.
It gets you in the door. That's the great thing about our industry is your work kind of speaks for you. Like your reel or your the daily stuff.
Yeah.
Like it kind of speaks for you. You don't have to go to a job interview and sell yourself.
Yeah.
It's like people just check out, people just look at your work, and if it aligns with them, then they'll hire you.
Yeah.
Some of our favorite jobs that we've worked on in the past year and a half, we were hired simply because someone on their team saw the med spa videos specifically. Mm-hmm. So this one of the commercial projects we're working on all the time that we're thinking, okay, well, we might get burnt out on the same message or the same visual or whatever. I'm always reminding us that we've gotten 2 awesome jobs that we've really enjoyed working on just because someone saw these videos popping up on Sarah Hamilton Face, their page over and over and over again, and they wanted to know who was doing those. So, I mean, we pour a lot of ourselves into these videos for the brand, because you're right, they speak for themselves. Someone saw, someone asked, they called us. We worked on a cool project.
One of my favorite experiences with our work speaking for itself was we were brought into this nonprofit that had a pretty decent budget. Thank God, because oftentimes, they don't. But they're more often than not our favorite stories to tell. And we were brought in for a meeting. It was kind of a vetting, meeting. We had one person that was like, yeah, we're going to hire you, but we still had to win over these others. And so we pulled up one of our films that we did for Children's Miracle Network last year. We said, this is kind of like our style of storytelling. And these other 3 people in the room had not seen any of our work. Pulled it up, and it's about 5 minutes long, and like it ends, and I turn, and all of them are crying and like wiping their face with Kleenex and blowing their nose, and I like just had this feeling inside, we've got the job. Like,
we didn't have to say anything.
Yes, we didn't have to say anything.
Yep. Yeah.
So
it just speaks for you.
Yeah.
Like I love it, because it's like, you just send your reel through or whatever, send a piece of content through and does the talking for you, which is, even like I was saying to you earlier, for me right now, to get to that next level that I want to get to, I feel like I have to do some personal projects, some stuff that I can make the best that I can make, but is in the, the vein of, a really well crafted commercial spec, spot. So to get to every, to get clients initially, you have to have something, and then even 3 years in, for me, like, I feel like I still need to, I need to produce something that will get me to that next level, so at every step of the way, you have to, it's all about what you've made up to that point,
Thank you for listening. The Cinetherapy podcast is produced by Inland Film Co. special thanks to Zach Trinca for joining us for a conversation on this podcast. Join us next episode for part 2 of this conversation. If you are interested in saying hi to Zach, go follow him on his social media accounts. We listed them in the description of this podcast. And that's a wrap.